Happy New Year. It's January 2nd. We have been faithful to release these for the last couple of years, and I have enjoyed every moment. I've enjoyed the comments. I've enjoyed the community. I've enjoyed all the subs. You guys are incredible. I wanted to take a moment and run through this last season and take some of my favorite moments of the green room. I've been able to sit here and interview some of the most incredible people in the world, and I know you guys have enjoyed it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some of my favorite moments from this past season on the Iris Global Green Room. And as we start this new year, my prayer for you and your family is you fall deeper in love with Jesus and just keep running with us as we try to bring you some of the best voices of leaders around the globe. Thank you for watching. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We're really, really grateful. Bless you guys. This is important. And so behind the scenes, like, this isn't just a phrase that we throw around, stop for the one. You know, this is a life. This is something that we live and that you model.
We want him.
Yeah.
We want him more than anything. And really seriously, unless we have oil and holy wine from heaven, we can't stop for the one. So there's like two places, this movement, Iris means covenant with God. Alianza, it's the covenant ring,
Yeah.
or the rainbow that surrounds the throne of God,
Yeah.
and of the Lamb. So it's this being close to the one who is worthy. It's a covenant with him that he's our everything, and we'll never ever forget that. Like we can't ever run on empty. And you all know, I know, any one of us know what it's like to try to push through when your oil's down.
Yeah.
If you're in a vehicle and the oil, if you forget to put oil in that truck, I know there's a lot of trucks on the hill. You forget to put oil in that truck or your vehicle.
Yeah.
At least the old vehicles that still need oil. I don't know what the newest versions are, but there's still something you can pair it with, or put it with, whatever. Right. I'm trying to think of the word. But if you don't put oil in that truck, or that vehicle, the engine's gonna freeze. Yeah. And you're gonna not only just be bummed that you didn't put oil in your truck, but it's not gonna move. It's toast. You gotta get a whole new engine. And I think in the body of Christ, when we're talking about stopping for the one, it's this place of stopping for him first. We're there, we're just getting oil, and we're also letting Daddy God love on us. Yeah. Because we love because he first loved us. Yeah. And if you don't know you're loved by Daddy God, you don't know what Jesus did on that cross for you, that takes away the shame and the guilt and all the pain, then you don't have any oil to stop for someone else. Yeah. The other thing is that we all are in these human clay bodies. So nobody can stop for everyone.
Right.
We stop for him and we get in his presence, and then he starts touching more people. And then we just ask, what's my assignment? So what's my assignment right now? Yeah. Who do you want me to stop for right now? And that's where, when we're really filled with the presence of God and we're not running on empty and we're oily ones, then his glory, oily presence will flow out of us.
Can you just define oily for those who are watching? Like, what is she even talking about right now?
I'm talking about the oil of his presence.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what we read in Zechariah. Yeah. I'm talking about the being the ones that know. We read it in Isaiah. That we would be the ones full of the oil, full of the wine from heaven, that we would have the fresh bread of his presence. And holy, when we have the fresh bread of the presence of God, we go out and we're carrying literally the fragrance of Jesus out. And there's something about his fragrance that people can perceive and know. If even if they don't know what's going on with you,
Right.
or why are you different, there's something about carrying the presence of God out there that people can smell his presence. That's what I'm talking about, being an oily one.
Yeah.
And we all know when we need to buy oil.
Yeah.
He says, Isaiah 55, come, read
Yeah, let's
it.
get into it.
Come buy wine and milk and it's so beautiful. And buy it. And then it says without cost, right? So I'm still on the first part of it. Come all of you who are thirsty, come to the waters. I love this. You have no money. How refreshing is that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, right now, they're feeling the financial crunch and crisis. They don't have money.
Right.
They can't afford. Some people are just like, how do I want to give, I want to do whatever. And they're suffering. There's a lot of suffering right now in America.
There is.
Not just in Africa, not just in Asia, not just in South America, right here in America. I love this, that it says, come and buy without money. Come and buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. How do we buy without money and without cost? Think about it. Jesus paid.
He did.
He paid for it all. He's like, I've got this. Talk about a food bank that's stocked.
Yeah.
He's it. And then what he does through the power of Holy Spirit, he starts tapping people.
Yeah.
So this stop for the one is first we stop for him.
Yeah.
And then he taps us and says, stop for that one.
Yeah.
Why? Because we have honey.
Come on.
Because we have Holy Spirit wine. We have milk. He says, come and buy without cost. Why do you spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy? So many, we all get in danger of this. I get in this place.
Right.
At times where it's like, we just hurry up and get it done, hurry up. Like in Pemba, especially last week, it's like 17, 18-hour days, and you're just like pushing, and you're tired, and you're like, by the end of the day, you're just like, oh God, I can't do it again, and I gotta get up early because I want to seek your face. You're like, it's a lot, and you just have to stop.
Right.
And I want to encourage people to stop for the one and let him love on you. Just let him love on you. And that stopping for him may be in a little group, maybe in a bigger group.
Yeah.
It may be just you and him. But as you stop for him and he just loves on you, he's going to pour wine from the heavenly realms and oil and milk. And he's pouring it into you. And then you're going to be that oily one. So you're going to stop. And he says, why are you guys running around? This is the way I'm going to interpret it right now.
Go for it.
Like chickens without heads. You're just spending money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy. Listen to me and eat what is good. And your soul will delight in the richest of fare. And it was, as we were pressing in here, just loving on the Lord and praying and quietly waiting, Jessica got this word about hearing and ears and listening. And to me, that's a critical part of this stopping for the one. How did this Iris movement this Iris Global family start, it really, it came out of the secret place of really being in that place of that throne room encounter where you can see what's in the heavenly realms, that beautiful covenant circle that surrounds the throne of God. It's an emerald, beautiful. And he's saying, I want you to surround me with your worship and your presence. And it came out of that place of radical love. I still remember I was in a forest in the UK. I was still a teenager when this was birthed. I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I was out there just preaching the gospel in my pup tent.
Can I ask how old you were?
I was...
So you got saved at 15, if I remember correctly? 16.
So I think I was 18 when the Lord called me.
And you started traveling.
I did. Started traveling at 16, preaching the gospel at 16.
So you're in a tent in the woods in the UK.
Yeah. It was cold. It was Crawley, UK. And he spoke to me about it. And it has so much to do with each one of us stopping for him and then stopping for one another.
Yeah.
And the different, we know that some other streams of variations of identity things going on would want to say something else with this, but the rainbow surrounds the throne of God.
It does.
And it's covenant and beauty. And something to me it represents is, and why at times there's distortion with things. It's like all of us are different and all of us are beautiful and all of us are unique and all of us are on a journey. So maybe that's why it is something people are thinking about. What does this mean, and who are we, and how do we represent this?
Yeah.
All I want to say is it's the beauty of communion and union with him, and then communion with one another that allows us to come in. I'm going to put these back on it. And he's saying, why are you running around with chickens without heads, spending all your time on what doesn't satisfy? Eat what is good. Listen to me. So he's saying, when we talk about stopping for the one, he's saying, listen to me. How are you going to listen to him? You live in the secret place, and then you can fill the tap. He doesn't want you to stop for everyone.
Right.
He wants you to stop for him and then stop for the ones he puts in. It could be the family of God. It's not just stopping for the lost. It's stopping for each other.
Yeah.
And not being just frantic all the time.
The fire of God came. I got physically healed. I subsequently testified to it. We prayed for others. And then I started going out. When I would go out, I would just pray for that a lot for people, just to be healed of traumatic brain stuff.
Have you seen anyone else in the NFL or the sports world get healed?
I haven't.
Okay.
It's a big need.
It is.
It's a huge need. So
how do you feel letting your son, and not that you let him, he's a grown man. How do you feel letting him get involved, championing that lifestyle? Now he's built for it. It's in him.
The brain was not designed for that. Okay? So he knows that. I know that. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
They are getting better and better about taking care of guys and recovering from concussions.
Yep.
But I'm having to help him go, when you are dinged, you got to speak up. You can't just gut it out. We would just gut it out.
Right, but do you think that some of that is what made you the incredible player that you are?
For sure.
Right. So how do you navigate a world of excellence and not gutting it out?
I think for each of us, it's subjective, meaning we have a saying in athletics, it's okay to play hurt, but you can't play injured. Because when you're hurt, everybody's got to...
Would you apply that to ministry?
Yeah.
I love that.
No, I do apply it to ministry.
I love that.
I do apply it to
You
ministry.
just put some vocabulary to some I've been processing a lot. I'm sorry, I'm out of frame.
Yeah.
That's
It's a big
that's a big
deal.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal because every follower of Jesus has to play hurt.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just we live in a hurt world. You are hurt. It doesn't matter if you're saved. You are hurt. But there's a difference between being hurt and trying to play injured. So
what would that defining line be?
Again, it's subjective. If the defining line is when you're trying to give your best effort, okay, and you're still doing good, like you're still performing well, and your teammates are still taken care of. Me as a middle linebacker, I'm hurt. Something hurts on my body.
Yep.
But it's not affecting my play. It's not affecting my assignment. It's not affecting my relationship with my teammates. When I'm injured, I'm not just hurt. Now my actions are starting to affect.
And they end up hurting you more.
And it hurts the team.
Yeah.
And most of what's happened with leaders that are falling and failing is for whatever reason, they're playing injured. It's not just normal hurt. They're injured. And how do you know that? Because of how it's affecting everybody on their team. It's how it's affecting their wife. It's how it's affecting their kids. It's how it's affecting their preaching. It's how, you can only hide injury for so long before the film, like in football, the film never lies. And we got to have a mechanism where maybe we could help guys walk through some film and go, 6 months ago, you didn't sound like this.
Goof.
You're now bitter. You're angry. You're preaching against like your wife's, she's not doing well.
Yeah.
So there's no shame. That's what we got to get over. Like for me as a football player, I would play injured because of the shame and the fear of losing. Most guys do this because they're afraid of losing all their hard work.
Yeah. And it's real.
It's very real. And they could lose it.
Yeah.
And maybe they should lose it.
Okay. Restoration pulpit, restoration to God. Which one do you think restoration means? Pulpit?
No. Heavens no. Because before there was ever a pulpit, you first were reconciled to the Father.
Yeah.
And just because he gave you a pulpit, our first tending of business is our relationship with him.
Right.
And to be reconciled with him. But the problem is when I would play hurt and then would show up on film, the coach would go, "Why didn't you pull yourself out?" I'm afraid. Afraid of what? I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. Afraid I'm going to lose my spot. I'm afraid somebody else is going to take my place. I worked my butt off to get here. It's real.
It's
in life and ministry.
More real than...
So what if we could do that?
In all my years of having the conversations over pastors that have fallen, leaders that have fallen, that was the most articulate I've ever heard, like explanation I've ever heard outside of church.
Oh, you're welcome.
No, it was beautiful. I'm actually like thinking.
I'm not joking. I would love, maybe we need to co-author something, because that's another book idea I have, is the difference between playing hurt and injured. And recognizing the difference and how do we address the difference, because one requires treatment, the other requires rehabilitation.
Yeah. I was over there. I mean, I get videos, I see pictures.
Yeah.
I spent a week, about 2 years ago was the last time I went.
Yeah.
And that week I was on edge the whole week. You're parking the car in reverse into the driveway, you're making sure it has a full tank of gas. If you got to hit the road fast.
Yep.
How do you handle that?
In the light of eternity. And that's, I don't want that to sound like a cliche holy answer. I think about, what is this in the eternal perspective, right? So Paul says it's a light and momentary suffering. And in 7 years of war, it doesn't feel light. It doesn't feel momentary, right? In the flesh. Nothing's light about it.
Right.
Doesn't feel momentary. But in eternity, it is achieving for us something that is far greater than anything we feel in our flesh, right? So I think about, what is the eternal bride of Cabo Delgado right now?
Yeah.
Right? So Mario one day on the farm, it was just a horrible day. And we had buried 4 people in one day that we knew. And we were sad. And he just looks at me and he's like, but the Cabo Delgado section of heaven is going to be so full. And I thought, yeah, that's it.
Right.
This is light and momentary, you know? But what is eternal is far greater. And so sure, I can hurt because it's real. I'll acknowledge it.
Yeah.
There's pain.
Yep.
There's fear.
Yep.
I feel afraid.
Mm-hmm.
But the eternity is with Jesus, the Lamb, who was slain before the foundation of the earth. And the verse that I always, just my mind goes back to, is that verse in Revelation. You know, he went down and he took the keys of Hades, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you feel like you're in hell, when you see things that are beyond hellish, when you hear and are surrounded by those things, you think, yeah, but Jesus already went to that place and took those keys away. Those keys no longer belong to the enemy. Jesus holds that victory. So it's already been won. Yeah?
Yeah.
You can't give your life away for something if you're not living for eternity.
Yeah.
What are you living for then?
Yeah. I'm with you.
I'm not living to see revival. I'm living to see Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm not living to see miracles. I'm living to see Jesus. So I think about eternity, and I think this is light and momentary. But I want these people with Jesus. I want them to have Jesus.
Yeah.
I want Jesus. I don't know.
It's amazing.
So I think about that, and I think you talked about it earlier, you know, when Steffany was here. Peace I leave you, peace I give you, but not as the world does.
Do not give to as the world gives.
Yeah.
Do not let your heart be troubled and do not be afraid.
No.
Yeah.
Don't be troubled, don't be afraid. I have peace because I have Jesus.
So I think a lot of people, I'm just going to try to play the person that's sitting there listening to this being like, I can't handle that. There's no way I can do that.
Okay.
There's no way. Like, I love Jesus with all my heart, all my soul, all my strength. And what you're talking about, Liz, seems like an impossibility.
Yeah.
Or there's a 15-year-old or 18-year-old wanting to go into missions that just heard you say that and is like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
You're right. You can't. I can't. When I signed up to do this, first of all, I signed up to be a farmer, to grow corn for Jesus. I didn't sign up for war. I didn't sign up for cyclones. I didn't sign up for any of that stuff. I didn't sign up to walk through in my mind, you know what I mean? You can't. But did you encounter Jesus or didn't you? Because if you encounter Jesus, you can go through anything because he will always be there. I didn't think I would ever come back on the mission field after my dad passed away. And then there's several other things throughout my time on the mission field that I would have never thought I could go through. But have I encountered Jesus? Yes. Does his word say, I will never leave you nor forsake you? Yes. Has he ever left me? No. Has he ever forsaken me? No. So you can. That 15-year-old can do those things and more. That person that's scared to go out on the mission field or has been hurt on the mission field or has experienced tragedy on the mission field can stay, can remain. Now I'm saying, don't get me wrong, get healing. Oh man, please.
Yeah.
Get healing. That's so important.
We're huge proponents.
Oh man. Yeah.
Huge.
I have had and still probably I want to be whole. I want to be whole. And I want to be holy. You can't be holy if you're not whole.
Yeah.
You know, it's Jesus. But you're right, you can't. Heidi and Roland are phenomenal, but the reason they're phenomenal is because they've encountered Jesus and they seek his face every day.
Yeah.
So you can go through 7 years of war and anything else. People have gone through way harder things, way worse. My Mozambican friends, I still live in Disneyland compared to the things they've walked through. And they have only done it because of Jesus, you know? I look at the Voice of the Martyrs guys, man, their visit this year just wrecked me. Most powerful thing. They're so in love with Jesus. The persecuted church is the most joyful thing you could ever surround yourself with.
Yeah. I would say you're one of very few men that I've ever met that carries the gift of the prophetic. And not just the gift, maybe I would put you, for lack of a better term, in the office of a prophet, 100%. And you know this, you have been doing this for years. But you also have an incredible teaching gift that I would put up with anybody else. And watching the way that you marry the word, the prophetic, and teaching, I think this is one of the reasons why I've loved listening to you for so long. But you have something that most don't, which is you're fun to be around. You're a good guy. Why is it that prophets are just some of the weirdest people? Because you have been around a lot of them. The Bob Jones, the Paul Caines. Were you even around when Branham was around?
No, more of those guys and the Kim Clements and the John Halls.
There's so many, which I love.
Yeah.
I really have so much respect for a lot of them, and I understand the tension where some had gone off.
Yeah,
and but why is the prophetic so associated with people that can't do this? Just talk.
Because I think we've. John Wimber we spent time together before he passed away. He's based out of the Vineyard Church and spent time in Europe ministering to the Vineyard churches and kind of introduced them to the prophetic. Anyway, one of the things I liked about him, I think he liked about me. By the way, he was born in Missouri, a country boy, very poor, as authenticity.
Yeah,
and I think there's a glaring lack of authenticity that we are cloaked in kind of like super spiritualism. It's like the guy, so you can't be real, you can't be honest, you can't be transparent, you can't be wrong, the whole bit. And I thought, wow, I love to find that medium where, how do I say this? So, Paul said this about spirituality and the gifts of the Spirit. He began by saying that, that we're to desire spiritual gifts, the charismas, which are divine gratuities of God, we're to desire them. And he said, if you want to desire them, especially prophesy, for he that prophesies speaks to men for edification, exhortation, and comfort. Yep. Well, that's fine, but there's a platform for that in the very beginning of that. He says, before he says that, he lays down a parameter, pursue love. Yeah. So the love of God. The love of God is a foundation for spiritual expression. However, real love is transparent. Real love is not fake. Real love doesn't exalt itself against someone. Real love is the ground floor. Real ministry, I love this, and the church was built on not the headship, built on the top, but the foundation of the apostles, prophets. So true spiritual ministry is the ground floor. You should be bearing the burden. You should be transparent. You should be the floor. You should be holding. There's a love of God that consumes you, that compels you to equip and to minister and to express in the Spirit. So I don't like spooky. That's not God. But I like stuff that's like whoa. Yeah. But at the same time, it has to be tethered to authenticity and realness. And I think a couple of years ago, I was thinking about, say this real quickly, about diamonds. Mm-hmm. And a couple of things I love about diamonds. The way to tell a fake diamond, it has no blemish. Fake diamonds are manufactured. They have no blemish. They're perfect. And when I find a perfect ministry, I pretty much stay away from them because real diamonds all have unique blemishes, and we all have our unique blemishes, but it's not hidden. You see it. Yeah. When you see it, and actually it's valued by that. And by the way, real diamonds are measured by their weight. Fake diamonds are always not weighty. So there's a weightiness of authenticity, there's a weightiness of bruising and formation in your life as us being ministered as diamonds and reflections of Christ. And I've all my life I said I never want to be someone else. I never want to be fake. I don't want to be a copy. I'd rather be a bad imitation of me than a perfect copy of you. You know, because you and I are authentic. We're all authentic. We have an authentic expression. As best we know how to be us, better qualified we are to express the kingdom of God to us in a way that no one else can, because we have a unique DNA, a unique visitation, a unique expression, a unique gifting. And what more but to your own heart be true and be real. And so I am if I'm a dog, I am not going to be meowing. You know, it's like because people want you to meow if you're a dog.
So as someone with a voice, right, who's been speaking into the movement, especially the charismatic Pentecostal spirit-filled movement for years. Yeah. Why? I think that's starting to get celebrated.
I think so.
In I would say my generation.
It used to be, don't touch the prophet; he's not yet ascended. That kind of, or the minute. Oh my gosh, and they have no bumps or bruises, and you can't see through them, and unreal, unauthentic, and you can't learn from them. Yeah, it's just closed. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
But one of the greatest things I think the Lord said to me about ministry, if you're real and authentic, and people can see through who you are, then what they get from you more is caught than taught. They catch what you are. You leak more than you speak. So in other words, you leak. If you're transparent enough, you leak Christ. You leak the love of God. You never have to teach about the love of God. You leak the love because it's the leaking and the foundation that sets the framework for expressions of the supernatural in people's life. Without Jesus made it clear, Paul made it clear, without love, you're nothing. You don't even have a chance in real ministry without the love of God. Right. And so it has been the overarching theme of my life is love. And again, it's like when you really fall in love, it's one of the most honest and transparent and real. And you can say anything and you just go, it is like, it is so freeing that you don't have to, you're married, I'm married, and you love, so it's so free. You can say what you need to say even when you're wrong. You don't have to put on a front. And I'm pushing that probably too far.
No, but anyway, you say whatever you want.
Anyway, that's why I think John was so adamant to the church at Ephesus when he said, "You guys are amazing. You're wonderful, and the gift." Gosh, the first century church was growing, and signs and wonders and miracles. But he said to that church of Ephesus, "I have one thing against you: you left your first love. Yeah, you walked away from your first love." And so his plea to the first century church, and in my opinion, the plea to the church of today is for somehow to find our first love again.
So how do we do that?
Well, I think we have to return to a heart of passion, in the sense of a passion for I don't want to say this wrong. I think we got to be careful. I think we become so success-oriented, ministry-oriented, perfect-oriented, building our thing instead of an awareness, a situational awareness that all this is about the Lord. It's about Jesus. It's all about doing it for Him. And if you lose that, if you lose the reason for being, if you lose the reason for why God has touched you and called you, you become an island to yourself in ministry, and you could have the greatest ministry in the world. I've seen some of the greatest gifted people in the world. Like, whoa, but I was pretty sure they didn't have a really intimate personal relationship with Jesus. Not an indictment against anything, but you can have gifting, and you can be successful. You can be in this world right now with all that we're doing here. Anybody can be successful if you get enough likes. You can be successful. Yeah. And but success doesn't build character.
So many stories of your truck. Can you share about this truck? I'm going to see if I can put a picture up of this truck. Okay. And I know it's silly, but I can't tell you how many miracles I've heard about this truck. Yeah, right. Can you just tell us about your truck?
Yeah, really the miracles using the truck, Yeah.
What is it, by the way?
Toyota Hilux.
What year?
1994.
And how many?
I did about 500,000 kilometers on it.
Which is roughly 250? No,
300
miles.
Yeah.
And this isn't on a road. We're talking the roughest terrain.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyways.
How did you get it?
Oh, that's a miracle.
We're going to make a t-shirt with the Wilcox truck on it. It is a representation of Iris. And I just want to bring people into one of the best things
Right.
In the Iris lore. Okay. It's the Wilcox truck.
Yeah. So anyway, we were sent to Lishinga. We had nothing.
Yeah.
We had no vehicles, nothing. So I walked everywhere and public transport. And then I borrowed a bicycle and I used that. I went bush. I would travel 70 kilometers, 140 kilometers a day, visiting churches and so forth on this bicycle. And then God provided for a motorbike, 50cc.
Yeah.
And then somebody gave a check to buy an old 1969 short wheelbase Land Rover.
Okay.
And that lasted for about 1 year and gave up.
Land Rovers are made for this territory.
Yes.
Okay. So like they are made to go rough, and it only lasted a year.
It only lasted a year because it was already badly treated when I got it. So anyways, 3 months went by without a vehicle. I went back to using a bicycle. And I said to the Lord, I'd really love to have a vehicle if that could be possible. It would help a lot in visiting the villages and so on.
And you're not sending out letters, hey, we lost our Land Rover.
No.
There's none of that.
No.
Okay.
We'll
get to that later.
That's where Father, the Heavenly Father says, just go into your little room, pray to your Father. Okay.
Yo, listen.
And he who listens in secret will answer you in public. And so
you don't mean fundraise? He doesn't. I thought he meant fundraise and like tell everybody. And live in fear.
No. No. So anyways, what happened was I get a phone call from a friend of mine in Australia. And he says, Peter, you wouldn't be needing a vehicle, would you? And I said, well, actually I do. And he said, well, I have a friend in New Zealand who would like to give you something to buy a vehicle with. I said, okay. And I asked him, well, how much is he willing to give so that I know my price range? And he said he's willing to give $10,000. Okay, that's Australian dollars. So I start searching. I don't find anything. And I go down to Maputo and I search through all of the city of Maputo for something that would be $10,000.
Yeah.
Before I went down to Maputo, I grabbed whatever loose cash I had, and it was $200. I put that into my account. And so we go down, and I meet Gordy.
Haggerty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. They're in Zimpeto.
One of Roland's best friends, been around Iris forever.
Exactly.
Was on the board early on. Yep.
Yeah. And so we're chatting. We're chatting away, and I said to him, Gordy, there wouldn't have been a gift coming in for us there in the United States, would there? And he said, no, I don't think so. But let me just check. So he checks. He says, hey, Peter, there's a gift here of $1,000 that was sent a year ago, and I forgot to give it to you. He said, well, could you transfer that over to our account? And he said, sure. So he did that in that moment. And so then I kept looking and looking. And next day, I went into the last used car lot, and I saw this red truck. And so I talked to the owner, and I said to him, could I buy this truck? It was $16,000.
Yeah.
And I said, if I paid cash, how much would you give me? How much could I buy it for? And he said, $15,000. Okay, all right. So I said, I gave him a down payment. It was only about $100 that I had. So I gave it to him. And so he prepared the car. And I notified my friend in Australia, and he notified his friend, and they transferred the money. So when I opened up my bank account, there wasn't $10,000 that he'd sent. It was $13,800. And so with the 1,000 that Gordy sent and the 200 is exactly 15,000. And so I wrote out the check and I gave it to the guy, And I hopped into the truck and I was driving it out and I look at the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And it's not the normal standard Toyota steering wheel. It's a sports steering wheel that was put on by the Japanese guy.
Aftermarket.
Yeah. The previous owner was a Japanese young guy.
Yeah. Japan has like a date that they're allowed to keep vehicles for. Afterwards, just to explain it, like, because you only find this stuff out when you're on the mission field. They send all of their old vehicles to different nations. So there's a big import lots with all these Japanese cars. So like you get them and there's Japanese writing on the inside and
Exactly.
Yes.
So this guy had sports stickers all over the thing and I look at the steering wheel and it's got wings on it. It's a stainless steel steering wheel. And the writing in it, in the middle thing where the horn is, Wilcox.
Stop.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No. What is that even? No. You're not allowed to say that. I've never heard this.
Yes. I got the photo of it. I
Really?
can send it to you.
You're gonna send it to me, and we'll stick it on there. Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Not that you've never lied to me.
You talked to Annalisa. She's got the car now.
She does?
Yes.
Okay, so it's still running.
It's still running.
Okay, so Wilcox is on the steering wheel.
Yes, it's steering. And I didn't realize it when I bought it. That was like that. And anyway, so one day we had to go to Pemba from Beira. It's 1,300 kilometers. And it was wartime. It was the conflict between Renamo and Frelimo. And cars were being shot up all the time. Yeah. And cars had to go escorted up and down along the main road. And so we were invited to go up to the harvest school by Pamela to help in the harvest school. Yeah. And so we said to our girls were 15, 16 at the time, Miriam and Michaela. Yeah. And we said to them, look, we're being invited and we're going to be traveling up. And they said, no, we're not. They said, no, we don't want to go. It says our friends would think we're crazy. We're just going to die on the road. Yeah. And I didn't force it. I said, okay, girls, it's all right. Tonight, let's get together as a family and we'll seek the Lord about it. And we'll ask him whether we should go or not. So we got together and the Lord spoke to the two girls very strongly and even gave Michaela the dates, the actual time frame that we had to be there and come back. And they were crying and so forth. We realized we need to go, but we're afraid. And it's okay. I said, you're fine. And in the morning they were happy. So anyway, so we planned our trip and we decided to go through a shortcut, which is sand and cuts about 3 hours drive off of the drive. And so we loaded up and we go to Pemba and everything's quiet along the roads.
Do you have all 7 kids or just?
No, Anissa and Antoinette are married.
Okay, so you have 5.
So I have Elias, Miriam, and Michaela. And no, Elias is already up in Pemba with a harvest school. Okay. So we've got Miriam, Michaela, Carmely, and Jemima. Okay. 4 kids.
And this is just 2 seats up front and then like a row,
3 in the back. But we put 4 in the back.
I've heard stories of all of your family in the back, like more than 4 in the back.
That was before Antoinette and Hank were married,
You all like carved out a little spot on the floor and I love it. But continue on.
Yeah, so anyway, so we go through and we see all these armed people along, but they don't see us. And we go through and we go to cross the main bridge over the Rio Zambezia. And the police stop us and because we have to pay the toll. And we go through and there's all these soldiers with machine guns and so forth. And we get to the end, getting into Nampula, and we're stopped and says, how did you get here? Where are our comrades back there? No, they're fine. I said, we went by them. They let us go through. And he was so puzzled because we weren't supposed to have come through. We were supposed to have come through with the escort, but we came through by ourselves. And so we got to Pemba, did all of our stuff. And I had to go to Lishinga. And on the way back to Pemba, before we drove back down to Beira, I said to the Lord, I wanted to ask your opinion about when we should go back or what time of the day we should go back. Because if I leave Pemba early in the morning, I will get into Beira, Dondo, about 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's nighttime.
Yeah.
Going through the bush and the jungle there in the reserve of the Gorongosa Reserve. It'll be all jungle, and that's Renamo territory.
Yeah.
Do you want us to go that nighttime, or should we leave at night here and get there in the daytime? And immediately he spoke to me through Psalm 23. He says, even though you go through the valley of the shadow of death, you'll feel no evil. Okay, all right. That's fine, Lord. So we left early in the morning, and we got there at nighttime, and everything was fine. But it's been amazing with that vehicle. Everybody knows that vehicle nationwide.
Let's talk about the closest star to the Earth, Alpha Centauri. It's 4.3 light years away. 4.3. What's a light year? How far light travels in 1 year. Okay? Now, let's simplify this. Everybody listen to me. Don't turn me off yet. Let's make the sun the size of a soccer ball.
Okay.
The Earth in comparison would be the size of a peppercorn.
Okay.
If we do it to scale, we got to put the sun down, and 26 yards away, we put the peppercorn. That's perfect scale. Do you know where the closest star would be?
No, I have no idea.
4,000 miles away. Okay. That means if we put our soccer ball in New York City and we put the peppercorn 26 yards away, the nearest star to us would be 1,000 miles past Los Angeles.
My God.
Okay, now that's closest star, and that's only 4.3 light years away.
Yeah.
Okay, now most stars we see at night are in our small galaxy, and they're between 100 and 1,000 light years away, which means it takes 1,000 years,
Right.
light traveling to get to the Earth. There are a couple stars in our galaxy, our little tiny galaxy,
Yeah.
that are 4,000 light years away. What does that mean?
It means my head hurts.
That means that light left that star about the time Sarah and Abraham got married. Wow. It's been traveling 540 million miles per hour, and it's just getting here tonight. That's in our small galaxy.
Right.
And that's 4,000 light years away. Now, our galaxy's got about 1 billion stars. The next nearest galaxy is called Andromeda. It's 2.3 million light years away from us.
John, I failed high school.
Okay, so no, stay with me.
I'm with you.
Almost done.
I'm with you.
Okay, 2.3 million light years away.
Yep.
Got it?
Yep.
The Hubble Space Telescope has now discovered galaxies that are 13 billion light years away from us. Okay, now let's go back to the 4.3. Can you even imagine trying to fly to any of that?
It's
okay, so he measures every bit of this with the span of his hand.
Gosh.
Okay, Isaiah said it. You measured the universe with the span. That is from your thumb to your pinky.
Wow.
Okay, so when I look at the stars,
Yep.
what are you that you even think about us?
Right.
So now God hides this to see what we're going to... A guy jumping from 15 foot and putting the ball through the hole?
Yeah.
Does that bring it
puts a
back
little
into perspective? I mean, the universe can't even contain
Right.
you. The Bible
Right.
says it can't even contain them.
Right.
All right? So this is why the most godly men are crying out, woe is me.
Yeah.
I'm undone. I'm
Beautiful. This is beautiful. I'm not, I can't even, that's such a beautiful perspective on this.
So does that cause you to go awe?
It
awe?
does.
Yes.
It does. No,
Yes.
and if it doesn't, you're dead in your heart. Like
You're dead.
you can't know him and not be in awe
Right.
of the infinite just impossibilities of God.
I flew back early because we had stuff we had to finish up. So she's like, okay, I'll stay with the kids. You just go. Let's get you to a hospital. So I arrived in Atlanta and Ubered home, changed clothes, and then Ubered to the hospital. Like Ubered straight there, like checked myself in. It was like, please, I don't know what to do. Like I can't walk. I can't function. Like, I mean, I was like, am I dying? Like,
Yeah.
You know, we were ready to we had an oncology appointment set up. Wow. I mean, everything you could imagine. Like we were like no clue. And it felt really, really hopeless.
Yeah, because none of the doctors could find anything. Everybody was like, it's not this, try this. It's not this, try this.
What were they leaning towards? Like
They were leaning toward autoimmune disease.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what they quote unquote diagnosed, right? They're like, we think it's autoimmune, and they really didn't know. You're having a flare up. But it was utterly debilitating in a way. Like I couldn't even lift my hand above my head. Like I would lay in bed and I would be on my phone, but I would have to like have my phone on a pillow so that I could use it. Like, and that would exhaust me. Like I couldn't breathe. Like it was like laboring to breathe. I'd wake up in the morning and be like,
yeah, so you can imagine watching that.
It was horrible.
You know, it's hard.
You know, she felt like her husband's dying.
Yeah.
You know,
scary.
and she's carrying the weight of the ministry, the weight of everything, the weight of our family and kids. And I mean, it was not easy. And we had planned earlier, we'd kind of had a side conversation one time. We'd heard about this Jesus Image conference. Yeah. And we didn't know anything about it. We just heard about it. And we were like, wanted to go. And Jenn looks at me like a couple of days before the conference. It was December 17th-ish, somewhere in there. And she said, I think we should still go. And I was like, oh, man, really? Okay. But we were so desperate. I looked at her, I was like, all I just want to do is lay in the presence of the Lord. I don't, whatever. Even if I don't get healed, let's just go love Jesus. Fine. And so we booked a flight down to Orlando. We booked the hotel closest to the conference center, so I wouldn't have to walk far. And every morning I would struggle to walk from the hotel room. It wasn't far, a couple hundred yards maximum.
It's like attached to it.
And I would, she would sometimes I remember her grabbing my arm at one point to like help me. And like hold on to the side rail, like every step. And I would walk in the conference and just collapse into my chair. Couldn't stand for worship, sit there, listen to it. Couldn't sing. I couldn't even sing out loud because that was too much effort. And I didn't even go to the afternoon sessions. She went by herself. I would go back to struggle to get back to the room and sleep 3 or 4 or 5 hours. I made it to one night session. The first one I didn't even go to. Yeah. Made it to one. The first one I went and left, couldn't do it. Second one I went to. And then the last night we went, and that was the hardest walk for whatever reason. Yeah. Like I honestly didn't think I was going to make it. We're like, I'm standing in the middle like this walkway thing, and I thought to myself, I can't do it. But I forced myself to get over there, right, like with every ounce I had. And as I walk in the door of it, they had a little table, and on it was those little snack pack communions, you know, those little crispies on the
little
top.
dippers,
So, like, so I just had this thought go through my head, and I'd never thought about it this way. And this thought was, I'm going to get healed during communion. And I didn't say anything to Jenn. My faith was like, about that big, right? And so I took my little snack pack and I went to the chair. Should not call it a snack pack. Whatever the little thing is,
I love it.
So,
it's the body. And
it is the body. I'm talking about the form. Anyway,
very
it's
much
pretty powerful.
Please don't be offended, Sacramento.
Oh, you can be
theologians.
offended. You can offend. Yeah.
And so
The point of it is how powerful it is.
Yeah. And so I went to my chair, collapsed into the chair like normal.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there in worship, and we had our 9-month-old baby with us, and he was not enjoying worship. So Jenn had to take him to the back of the room to like let him scream and run on the ground, which is charismatic movement. Nobody's noticed.
Yeah, nobody cares.
But she took him to the back, and I'm there by myself. And Michael Koulianos was preaching.
Yeah.
And he gets up, and not far into it, he said, "Some of y'all are going to be healed during communion." Kind of like just like an off comment. And when he said it, I like cocked my head, and I thought, okay. Maybe there is something here. And he was preaching just an unbelievably beautiful message. Yeah. I mean, just the gospel just pours out of that guy. It's so and I just was like loving the Lord sitting there, and I was like, I just want to lay before the Lord. So I got down on the floor between the little aisle thing and the seats, and I'm just listening to Michael, but praying, listening to Michael, and just praying and just loving on Jesus. And they start doing communion. And I heard the Lord say, He became a curse for us.
Audibly in your heart? Describe that.
Yeah, heart and mind.
Okay.
But I knew it was Him.
Yep.
And when He said it, I saw these flashes of images of every time I kind of thought it might be a curse, and every little message I got that it was a curse. And I got off the floor, and I stood up for worship. And worship was probably like an hour and a half, I think, at that point. Stood up the whole time, sang my heart out. At the end, walked down to the front to greet somebody, and still hadn't said anything to Jennifer. We're walking back.
Are you watching him start to like sing and walk?
Yeah, I think it didn't connect to me at that point. It didn't really hit me until the next day when we're walking through the airport, and he wasn't struggling, and he walked all the way to the airplane. Right. And I mean, it's been 3 weeks now, and he hasn't had 1 ounce of exhaustion, pain, completely healed. Completely healed.
Zero.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
Incredible. And you're out there in the globe crushing it for Jesus. We'll end with this because I know you have other things to do, and I never want you to feel like I'm taking advantage of your time.
Oh, I don't. I don't even know what time it is when
you
I'm
broke
here.
the internet. You broke the charismatic internet.
What do you mean?
When we did this the last time. Do you know that?
I mean, no. You said a lot of people watched it, but I didn't know what that means.
Is it the most watched thing on our whole channel? I think it is. Yeah, it's the most watched thing on our entire channel. You know, you have this like effect. There's a Steffany effect on things. That doesn't sound right. Like, it's beautiful.
Okay.
It's really beautiful.
It's good.
Yeah, I think what I as I like watched it take place over a couple of weeks, because we got tens of thousands of comments.
Wow.
People were so drawn to what you were sharing. I think you really hit a heart of people that were struggling through like worship and performance, and like there was a heart.
Thank you, Lord.
I think that there was like a really timely word that you shared, and for whatever reason, God used this little wooden table.
Thank you, Lord.
As a way to share it. But I mean, weekly I get messages.
Wow. I
had people that I hadn't talked to in years reach out to me, like that aren't a part of the movement. Like worship teams around the globe were sent. One of our reels, I think, had 2 or 3 million views on it. What? Everywhere I go now in the globe, people are like, I saw that thing. I saw what you did with Steffany. What you said really hit a mark. And I mean, I didn't bring you back on because of that. In fact, I wanted you back on when we ended the first one.
Because it wasn't enough time.
It wasn't. But honestly, like,
it's crazy.
I never use my connections for any gain. Like, that's not it. I've never done that. I never will do that. I just love you. No. But as I was just processing, like, this thing went viral, you know, in our small spirit-filled world. But it was funny to watch, and I was just so blown away at how anointed you are. And everybody loves your worship, but your ability to share Jesus, it's convicting for me. It would be like, I mean, I always get convicted when I hear preachers. You know, you hear Bill, you hear.
Oh, I know.
And, you know, but they're preachers.
Right.
And I know you're a preacher, but like, this isn't even like what you do full time.
No, I don't feel good at it at all.
I know, and that's how incredibly freaking gifted you are.
Ooh.
And the word that you're carrying. So I don't know what happened with Heidi, and I'm not trying to make any crazy statement, but my goodness, girl, the world, people benefit when you share your heart. And I'm not saying build anything or do whatever. You're obedient. It's not even about that. I know you don't need a word, but it really blessed me to see. It really did. It blessed me to see the fruit of you know, as you open up and share your heart. It's incredible. So many people.
Thankful.
There was one comment, and I never read comments.
Yeah, totally.
I don't. But there was one. There was one that said, like, I'm not even spirit filled, and this thing changed my life.
Wow.
I love that. You're a bridge builder.
But it's because Jesus is the message, right?
Yeah.
And if we'll talk about him.
And you carry him.
Oh, I'm so thankful.
Yeah. So walk me through your process.
I mean, well, what do you want to write about? I mean, like, sometimes I have ideas that, like, I've sang into a phone or
like, just your process, like,
and then I'll just kind of I was trying to see if I did have one.
Okay.
Right here. I don't know if I do. Oh, well, no, that's old. That's
First of all, like, you're skilled, right? So you spend a lot of time practicing.
Yeah.
Even now, do you practice? Or
I don't practice as much. I mean, I pull my guitar. I have guitars hanging all over the house, and I'm just nice. I have to have them. It's nice to have them. Like, oh, I'll grab them more if they're out.
Yeah.
But I definitely like grab guitars and play.
Okay.
Most days at some point.
Okay.
And that's kind of my you know, I don't like necessarily
practice playing the guitar anymore. I probably should.
I don't know.
I've kind of peaked at where I'm
Yeah.
Not that that's high. It's just like, I'm good enough for what I do, and I'm fine. I don't need to be down here.
You don't?
Fooling around. No, you know what Ray Hughes used to joke around? He was like, you see all them boys down here at the end of the neck, and they're doing all this? He's like, and I'm just up here at the top playing these. He said, that's because I found what they're looking for.
Dude, that's awesome.
But,
Ray Hughes, was he the one that, not Ray, Leonard, he would like surround himself with all
Leonard.
the instruments?
No, Leonard, I'm preaching the opposite of what Leonard would preach. Like, he's practicing all the time, and he's a phenomenal musician. I practice more like songwriting and crafting that, and I'd love to. Actually, I need to practice in. I need to get better on the piano. That would be amazing. That would probably unlock some other things.
Okay,
but
I am a young worship leader, desire person. I don't even know how to talk about it. I would like to write a song.
Yeah, I'd be like, what's the Lord been talking with you about, or is there anything you've been reading?
I've been reading. Yes, actually, right
like,
now.
let's
Okay,
go after
I've been
some of that.
reading First John.
Awesome.
I've been in First John. Are you ready? And it's actually a song or a poem in First John.
Perfect. Well, this is going to be really easy then.
I didn't think this ahead. Okay, let me get to it. It's about fathers, young men, and children, and the 3 times in their life.
Why don't you look at that and I'll tune?
Yeah.
It's like
tune
as I'm playing. Like,
okay,
woo!
so it's 1 John 2:12.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna read it. It can, or do you want to just tune? Yeah, I'll let you do your thing.
It's gonna be an editing nightmare for you.
No, this is fine. We're good. We keep it chill.
You know what's funny is I almost brought my guitar, but then I was like, well, I'm not gonna need that. What do I need it for?
I'm sorry for the guitar. Everybody, it is not a good representation of Josh Baldwin and his musical skills.
It's a cheap guitar. That's
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I usually have a pick in my pocket. I don't
What do you
today.
need?
Nothing. I know you have a pick, or I have a pick right here.
Okay, so I've been like on this. I just finished a fast, and I just spent the whole time in 1 John.
Okay.
And then, so there's this, I hit this part right here, 1 John 2:12. You see how it's like different, you see how it's like a different,
Oh yeah.
it was actually used as like a poem or a way to memorize the core of what this is saying.
Right.
And so here's what it says.
Okay.
I write to you, dear children, because your sins have been forgiven on account of his name. I write to you, fathers, because you've known him who's from the beginning. I write to you, young men, because you have overcome the evil one. And it goes, I write to you, dear children, because you've known the Father. I write to you, fathers, because you've known him who's from the beginning. I write to you, young men, because you are strong and the word of God lives in you. So like I rearranged it in my notes because that's too confusing for me. So I broke it down into children, young men, and fathers, like 3 eras. So children, it says your sins have been forgiven, right? It's like when you get saved. Like this is that first season of your life. The second one is you've overcome the evil one. Young men, you've overcome the evil one, and the word of God lives inside of you, right? So it's like the season of like facing the battles, getting the word deep inside of you.
Yeah.
Right? And like coming through, because like everybody goes through that season, right? And then the last one is fathers. And when you become a father, when we become fathers, here's what we say, like, I've known him who's from the beginning. I don't know just the Son who saved me. I don't just know the word and overcoming the enemy. Like, I get to know him who's from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like that's what I've been meditating on.
Oh, see, yeah. Can I look at it?
You can.
Sometimes I feel like it's easier to, a lot of times it's easier to have your chorus. Like, that's like, you get a chorus to sing and it's writing verses around that are a lot easier because your chorus is like kind of like your theme, the main message that you're going to sing over and over. So there's I have so many songs where they started with verses and I could never find a chorus that was like better than the verse, or just so it's like
you don't need to do anything spectacular. That's what I've been meditating on. Fathers, children, young men, fathers.
I even just right as you're saying, I initially just had an idea like that it would set it up great for like a call like come all you children, come all you men, the Father calls you, come to him again. Like calling out to let the old man come, let the women too, or something. Like telling the people like, come here, let me tell you what's happening. Yeah. Like you are forgiven, you're not forgotten. All these rights, just I would start singing the chorus of telling people who they are, and the verses would be a call for the people to come to listen to listen to this chorus of telling them who they are. I like break it down that simple and practical.
Holy crap!
You know what I mean?
So one of our core values is urgency and consistency. You have to have the urgency to really want to bring Jesus to this girl, but the consistency.
And that's that fire. Like you can't lose that.
No. And so the consistency is, okay, today she didn't want to talk to me. She got on her phone when I came by, or she's talking to a client. That's okay. I'm going to be back next week.
Yeah.
I'm going to be back the week after that. And so, for us, we have a lot of times of like, it's not so much the poor coming to us, we're going to the poor.
Yeah.
And so when you're going into their world, you also have to understand their limitations and them being there.
Yeah.
So forming relationship with people, and a lot of what we do is deconstructing the gospel that they understand or that they think they understand.
Yeah.
And showing Jesus to them, loving them, being able to pull out the good in them, and always listening for what Jesus is saying in the middle of those conversations. The end, what we're really hoping is that eventually we form a relationship with this girl, and she's going to want to come and meet with us outside of her workplace where we can really get into it,
Yeah.
And that relationship continues. Those conversations come maybe in that first time with her. We're just going to bring in, like today I was reading the Bible and this is what I heard the Lord saying. And I don't know, does this make sense to you? And really forming it in that way. But we have a girl that's been with us for maybe 7 or 8 years now. This is a woman that's now left prostitution. She's one of our main intercessors now in our life.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But for the first 2 years, didn't give us the time of day. In fact, she thought we were traffickers that were going to take her to the U.S. And so she was terrified. And we do these Father's Love banquets once a month, although we do them less now. But
I've heard about these.
Yeah. And that.
Can you describe it for people?
Yes. Okay. So the Father's Love banquet is like, we rent out this, we rent out a hall in a really nice hotel. We have a ballroom. We have, a full spread of food. And it's really just a time for the girls to come off of the streets to be there and let us just pour into them. So, it's not just worship. It's not just hearing the word, but we do things like, massage, or we might have someone there doing manicures or whatever, but they're going to get the word,
right,
and there's going to be a time of ministry at the end. And so that the Father's Love banquet is like, when I was talking about our goal is that we can eventually have communication with this girl out of her workplace and in a more common place. The banquet is an incredible place for us to get to that next level of can I get your WhatsApp? Let's keep talking.
How did these start? The vision for the Father's Love banquet.
Yeah,
it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, when we first moved to Brazil, we lived in Curitiba, and I don't even remember who anymore, but I had heard of someone in Thailand that did this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, it's a great idea, a great way to start. So in Curitiba, the very first one, we invited 40 women, made invitations, gave out roses, and 2 men came.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
okay.
This is not what I expected. But Doug Johnson was there.
Yes,
And
stop.
He gave
Shout
the
out Doug
message.
Johnson.
Shout out to Doug, Papa Doug.
We love you.
And he gave the message.
Pastor in Maryland.
Yeah, amazing man of God.
Yeah.
And it was super powerful. And those two guys ended up leaving prostitution from that time.
Wow.
So then when we moved to Hasifi, we just started doing it every single month. And it got to where we'd have like 40, 50, sometimes 60 women, because then they would invite others to come. And what's cool is it's gotten to where now, like when we go to the streets, the red light district, and someone's new, and they'll be like, kind of, who are you, you know? And we'll be like, have you ever heard of the banquet? And they're like, oh yeah, you're the banquet people. It kind of gives credibility.
Right.
Because other women have talked about like they're safe.
Yeah.
They're not pushy. They're not gonna,
Right.
you know. So yeah, so it's been an amazing tool for seeing women leave. And then now we've had the privilege of having other women who have already left come, and they're the ones speaking at the banquet.
Telling their story.
Wow.
Yeah, saying like, I've been where you are, but I left. Here's what Jesus has done in my life. And then give an altar call.
So cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.